Welcome to the DSPN.
He's given him. Well, there you go. He was forward.
Oh, a punch up now in midfield. Fraser's involved.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin, Devlin, Lachlan Waugh, the DSPN. We are brand new. We put out a show/podcast every afternoon for you, talking about all the day's biggest sports stories. I've got to stop down and say cock-a-doodle-doo. We've been going 9 weeks. That's 6 weeks at the end of last year. Had a break, came back after Christmas and New Year. This is our third week back for 2025. 37,000 views so far of Justin Marshall talking about the Six Nations on YouTube. Thank you so very much. If you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, we love you for that. If you can like, share, follow, leave a comment across our social media, _DSPN. Thank you so much for doing that again. It really does help this side of the microphone. Today on the show, Tony Kemp talking the Warriors' first preseason hit out on Friday. Miles Davis, our old Pommy China, going all blah, blah about the biggest sporting issues of the day. And we're going to play Glass Half Full, looking at every sport that's introduced a brand new, faster, shortened version of itself to accommodate the 30-second attention span, dick pic, Instagram generation. Is faster necessarily better? We're going to debate this, Lachlan. But before we do all that, we always start the show with a sermon from the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Spoke about this briefly yesterday. I want to digress a little more. A couple of trials going on in world sport right now, carrying massive implications for everyone involved. You know these. You've probably been reading a lot about them. The verdicts in the trial of Luis Rubiales, the former Spanish FA president, for the Jenny Hermoso World Cup kiss, and Sam Kerr, the Aussie soccer star, for drunkenly damaging a taxi and then racially abusing a London police officer, I believe are going to tell us a hell of a lot about just where our world is right now in terms of how we should and shouldn't behave. The boundaries and definitions of right and wrong are on trial as much as the people in court themselves. Neither case is totally straightforward, but equally I think both should and could be easily resolved. Rubiales was way out of order. No question about that. Should never have forced the full lip kiss. But is it deserving of a sexual assault conviction? I think he's guilty, but maybe not of something as serious sounding as all of that. That's just my opinion. As for Sam Kerr, if she had called the cop stupid and black as opposed to stupid and white, it'd be racial abuse. Case closed. So why isn't insulting him as being white racial abuse? Because of course it is, because the whole definition of racism is defining people by the colour of their skin. She should really have been charged with being a drunken prat. All supposed complex legal arguments aside, both Rubiales and Kerr, in my mind, are definitely guilty. For me, the verdicts are the easy bit. Much more difficult is going to be working out what punishments are appropriate.
Devlin.
Rugby League on a Wednesday. Our good mate Tony Kemp joins us. I don't think there's anyone better in the country to talk rugby league with. He's honest, he's forthright, absolutely loves the game. Former Warriors coach, very proud Kiwi, 25 tests and played pro league in both hemispheres. It's a real privilege to have you here every week, mate, and especially with the Warriors' first hit out on Friday. And I look at that lineup. How many teams do this where they put all the big dogs out?
Yeah, the first game of the season, Marty, Kings will put their first team picked out in some stage during the trial, but it's generally later on in the trial period. But the Warriors seem to, settled on a side. It looks like when you look at it, with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck going to start on the wing and not at fullback, and Luke Metcalf, the question around the halfbacks playing alongside Samora Martin at 5'8", and of course you've got Wade Egan in that spine with Charles Croxty. It looks like he's picked his first team to go out there and at least play the first quarter at Cronulla this weekend and see how their off-season shaped up and what those combinations will look like.
Team's been training since November the 1st. It's important to point that out because a lot of teams don't actually pick it up, till December. But because the season ended early, it was disappointing. Webby's had them and flogging them by all accounts since then. Let's just go through a few names then, because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about Roger playing fullback. That's obviously not the intention, or is it? Is it's just a trial? What is it?
Well, again, you've got to take in context injuries that will happen. It's probably the only time during these season that these players are going to be absolutely 100% fit. But he looks like West has settled on a side, and he's looked like he's settled on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck starting on the wing. Anything can happen in the first month of footy, maybe before the season actually kicks off. But at this stage, with his playing his card and Roger sitting there in that wing to live in, I think yeah, that's probably where he's trained all year, and they've just settled the chance sitting there at fullback. How that plays out in the actual season, because you really read the trials, the Cronulla side isn't the number one side that they've picked. They've got a sprinkling of first graders with a number of the Newtown boys that went so well in the New South Wales Cup last year, and along their side, some good young players. It will be a challenge, but if he starts with this side in round one, that's really the question. If they all stack up, with the Harris and the middle work well, and they get moving out wide, the side that we see start the game on Friday night looks really close to what will probably start the season.
The psyche behind it, is it because, hey, these guys have been training for so long? Is this almost a reward as well? Because as you say, some teams kind of, fox a bit and fudge a bit and they don't play their best players. But when you've been training all of this time, it's like, these guys will just be busting to play, won't they? I would hope so.
Well, you'd hope that you were injured if you weren't named at the side, because it looks like he's named players in the positions who are probably sitting close to one or two in those positions, you know what I mean? So,
yep.
Taking a look by the looks of an old school mentality, if your form stacks up and you're the big dog in the team, then this is the game that you want to be running out with next to all the players and that are sort of the same ilk, I suppose, within that side that's standing next to you. So, again, the bank, it looks like it could change, but when you look at it from 1 to 2, there's a couple of questions that have been answered here. He hasn't gone with where we thought the 13 would go, with Dylan Wolf starting there. He's got there quietly. The young warrior boy that Lachlan has come back. Pivot capable. We've got Jacob Laban sitting in the second row with Neville Corey on the bench. That could be a reward for Jacob in the way that he trained during the off season. But you get Harris and Barnett playing up in the front. I think that in itself is a really killing point.
That's a good 1-2 punch. I mean, you got to stack that up against every team, don't you?
Well, you got it's two big dogs, you know what I mean? There's apparently been a little bit of a set to it training between the two, with all this captaincy talk and coming higher and just sort of asserting himself into the Warriors makeup and Barney being there for a while. When you put in an 8 and 10, it's that follow me mentality. And one of the key, outcomes which we'll be looking at on Friday night is how good did my middle go? Did I get what I was expecting out of Victor Harris and Barney? Hey, can we rotate around these two to keep the momentum going?
At the same time, we've got to be careful about, how much we read into any of these games. I like Super Rugby warm-up games, but, it's just exciting to see the team out there for a start. And harken back to what you said about the spine. If this is the spine, poor Luke Metcalf last year, he got injured, I think it was pre-season, Tony, wasn't it? And he didn't play the whole bloody season. So are you happy with that, with Egan, with him, with Tamati there? Roger maybe substituting with Chance there, but essentially those 4 or 5 names.
Well, I'm not entirely happy that Luke Metcalf is a 7. I think he needs to grow into that position. He played outside Shaun and was starting to develop a really good, relationship with Shaun, with the speed that he had to burn. Unfortunately for Luke, seeing more time off the field than on last year, I thought he was really grown into that 6th jersey. I think you've got to look at the way that Tamari played in 7 when he had Chavita playing outside him in the 6th jersey and Tamari getting to run the side. So whether it's just a little bit of a ploy to give Luke Metcalf the starting 7 to see whether or not he can lead that team, because you've got to remember it's probably their best pick side and then around the middle of the par. If they can't, you'll slot Tamari back there and move and Luke back out. So I think you'll see a bit of an interchange there, Marty, during the night. I think Luke will play the 6 and Tamari will move back in the 7.
Jed Cleary on the bench, obviously an extended bench as well. Are we going to see any of him? Because again, it's something that all the fans want to see.
Yeah, 100%. I can see an SOS going out during the year, Marty, to Shaun Johnson.
Really?
Kerr if he doesn't step up on Friday night. Look, they'll be telling Shaun to keep the cobbies off the football boots, because they picked up a couple of injuries through that half. Luke Metcalf, he sort of can't get over that hamstring injury. And there's more time on the sideline. Then you've got the young boy from the Titans down here too, looking to get a start and tried and tested TTM and CHT. Dick Curry has to have a run. They have to see whether or not he's up to first grade. And if he gets a shot this one and goes all right, and he'll probably get another trial as well.
Hang on a second. Let's go back to that, rewind the tape. An SOS for SJ. Look, there's an SOS for him to play for the Kiwis. Are you sure? He's got media commitments. He's doing all of that. Is he going to keep himself conditioned? What do you have to do to be able... I mean, if he did get the call, I mean, is he... I mean, I know he's obviously going to be fit and everything, but he wouldn't have played for a good part of 7, 8, 9 months or something.
Look, I think about Marty. One of the things as a coach you panic about is your injury crisis. You know what I mean? You hope that luck is on your side and you don't have key players going down in key positions to some serious injuries that keep them out for the season. And unfortunately for the Warriors, I just don't think they've got the depth in the spine. They can't have even go down on it. They've got enough depth there. Their halves, especially, it's not just going down, but their form lack. Well, seriously, I can see an SOS going out the today. I think they'll just take a fit Shaun Johnson. And whenever he can, and if they lose a couple of key players in that 7 or 6 season, I'd be saying that we should be having a conversation with Shaun Johnson off record just to say keep fit because we might need you back.
And he's just allowed to join the squad. That would be perfectly okay. Does his name have to be registered or anything? How does that work?
It's all the first time it's done. You look at Alawanga when he came back and tore New South Wales apart for Wayne Bennett and Evie Johns, you know what I mean? The same thing sort of happened. I think you put Shaun Johnson in that type of, look, if you wanted to come back and do a job, if he's fit enough to run around on a football field, he'd more than capable of leading the side around the pit.
Zion Ma'u gone to the Dogs. How do you feel about that, mate? I mean, I know he only played the game against Gold Coast, but he showed such promise coming up through the grades. He was one of those ones talked about. I just hope he's not another Katoa, but on the flip side of that, I think if Andrew Webster is happy to let him go, well, then I trust Webby on this.
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a look in a hard place. You look at Demetra, he gets a run this week alongside Laban in the back row, and you could have thrown Mo in there as well. I guess the ilk that they're holding that player, as a first grader. And the interesting part of me is that it wasn't just an ordinary club that came in to pick him up. Like
That's right.
the Bulldogs have come in with Full Gold, who's a very good talent ID person, and said, "Mate, we'll take that kid."
Top 8 club last year, Tone. Top 8 club.
The biggest one that comes to mind is Katoa where he goes down to Melbourne and now he's picked up the day in second Barra of the year. But if you have a look at the Warriors side, Marty, and this is the problem that you got, is that like the Norkure and the lot that's thrown on the weekend,
Aaron Clark.
they were young Warriors that got let go, and then the Warriors got to pay so much more money to get them back as a developed player. So really looking at it, it's like you can't hold everything, and you're caught between a rock and a hard place. Young Aaron Clark was trying to get his name out there, but when they do make it and they do become regular first graders, it costs you a fortune to get them back. But in the case of we've seen that with a lot of Warrior boys. And Woodman, had to go over from the schoolboys, he had to come back from Sydney City. Tarrant was the Warrior player on the wing, he had to Canberra, he had to pay over to get him back. And in this case, when you're looking at young Morrigan over there, you've already got 2 players in that pack that were exactly the same for other coaches that they had to let go and pay overs to get back. So I just hope he doesn't come back and bite their ass this year.
All right, finally, then let's wrap it up with, as I say, it's exciting. Here we go again, mate. But what can we genuinely expect without, trying to expect too much from what we were going to see on Friday night?
Well, they did win. That's the first thing, like they're up against a mixed...
Is that important, Tony? Is that important in a preseason game to win or not?
Oh, 100%.
Is
100%, Marty.
Okay.
I think when you're building culture, it's good to get on the right foot and get a win under your belt. It does wonders for the changing room and your training field. So, to get some reward from the training season has apparently been pretty tough. They've come out where Luke Cable come out and think, they've been in the tier, they're more connected. What we're looking for is that. We're just saying, well, how fit are you? You should be wiping these guys with the side that you've chosen. And how connected are you? Can you get the key pass and component of your team go? Is your spine connected? Is your middle connected? And your edges dangerous? Yep. So I think if you can get those questions answered on the weekend and 20-30-point win, I think it's going to the season excited, Marty, before the injuries take over and we've got it all doom and gloom.
UFC 312 this weekend in Sydney. And from City Kickboxing, strike coach and good old mate Mike Angove joins us, head of Strickland and Drickus. Mike also was in Saudi, where Izzy fought on the weekend. Dude, good to see you again, mate. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problems. Obviously busy times for us at the moment. We kind of ride from one roller coaster to another.
Yeah, you do. All right, let's talk about Izzy to start with. And he'll be feeling disappointed and shattered by that. First question is, was the ref right to stop that fight when he did?
Look, so you stick that into two minds. Yes, it was a fair stoppage. Would we have liked to seen it go a couple of seconds longer? Yes. Not because we want to see our guy hurt, as all twats and wankers will say, but because we could see our guy. It was right above us. His eyes were clear, and we felt he could get up. But the ref did his job. He got hit by two big shots. And, you know, we don't have a complaint about the stoppage. We just wouldn't have minded seeing a couple of seconds for it to play out. And as you remember, he did get dropped against Strickland and fought his way up. So no complaints about the stoppage. You know, it was a great shot that Nassourdine landed. He followed it up well. It is what it is.
He got hit in the first round as well with an uppercut, and I suppose what worried me is when he got hit in the second round, his arms were down, he wasn't defending himself. How did you think he was fighting up to that time?
He's fighting well, and he just simply got hit in a transition. He made a mistake. He shifted in one direction, and look, you can make mistakes. And against the guy who's a young lion, who's a sharp boxer, who's well prepared, who's probably studied his patterns, you got to be really careful. It's not like boxing where that's an 8 count and you can recover from it, or the gloves are 10 ounce. Those are small portable battering rams that we wear on the hands. So, you know, and he got hit clean. So, yeah, obviously gutting. We would have preferred, you know, to not be fighting quite so aggressively. But that's a call you make in the heat of the moment, you know. And Nassourdine was tiring. He was being touched up. But in a 5-round fight, you need to be patient. But it is what it is. You know, we can talk about things in hindsight, but that is the game we play, unfortunately. And you know, and we have to suck the lemons. You know, we've had a lot of success over the years, and unfortunately, we're sucking successive lemons at the moment.
So, obviously, everyone was asking what the future is for Israel, what's he going to do and things. The last 3 fights that he's lost, mate, against Strickland and Drickus and now Imavov, are these 3 fights that you would have expected him to win and that you think on paper before you get into that octagon he should have won?
Well, we don't go into any fight thinking we're going to lose. That's the first thing. Look, I would say without arrogance that if we were to have those fights again, we would feel that we could win them 100%.
All of them?
Yes.
Well, he's 36. He's 37 later in the year. You know, I just think all kinds of things when I see this, and I think, okay, has the toll of his constant fighting over 3 or 4 years, is that a reason why he isn't the fighter he was 3 years ago? Or am I reading this completely wrong? Is he still that fighter that he was 3 years ago in your mind? You see him every day.
What we can see is, so I'm just organising an Uber drop-off at the moment, so we're just going to have to roll with this.
Yep.
Just would you mind running around the block again? And I'll pay you for it. So, sorry, mate.
That's okay, dude. Appreciate you.
So look, age catches up with everyone. I think conditioning played a big part, and injury played a bigger part of the earlier 2 fights than people are generally aware of. What Izzy showed in this fight in his camp was an ability to turn back the clock by paying greater attention to more scientific conditioning. He was in great nick. You know, he really was. You know, he felt he had a Ferrari that he was running, And unfortunately, he just wanted to run that Ferrari a little bit too quickly, too soon in a 5-round fight. Obviously, now the decisions go to Izzy in terms of where he goes from here. If you're asking me personally, I think he can. I think he can get back any one of those fights. But we just have to allow Izzy to work through the process, and then we all have to work through that process as well with honesty and clarity about what we're doing next.
One question before I let you go then, mate, and I thank you so much for your time. Obviously, you've got to get out of the Uber as well. Who wins this weekend out of Drickus and Strickland?
It's a tricky fight. It was close last time. I just think Drickus is slightly more well-rounded, and I think he carries more power. So I wouldn't surprise me to see Drickus, grapple more in this fight. You know what Strickland's going to bring. He's awkward. He's far better than people give him credit for, and he's got a good team around him with a good strategic heads on their shoulders. So I edge towards Drickus because he's shown that he can get better with every fight. I don't think we're going to see major changes from the way Strickland fights.
The DSPN.
Lachlan, we're about to play your favourite game.
Glass half full.
And today it's all about the new wave of sports that have been shortened to accommodate the need for speed to get things done quicker. You see, people don't have the time these days, so I've been told, to faff about to take the time to watch a whole game of sport. Apparently, you don't. Oh, how sad for you. Everyone wants highlights. The NBA, for example, are now a virtual Instagram sport. It's all about 10-second bombs and dunks and posterising. So many sports have introduced a shorter version of themselves to accommodate the reduced attention span of the new generations, and we're going to rate them all, seeing as that we are from different generations. I'm going to give you a sport at shortened version. You're going to tell me whether you got glass half full or glass half empty on it.
Glass half full.
Let us start with the most obvious one. Cricket, test matches, one-dayers. Now you've got T20. Glass half full or glass half empty on the T20?
I changed my mind quite a bit on this one.
Same.
I would say for the most part glass half full because I think it has its place.
I do. However, I think I agree with Simon Doyle. It's a franchise sport other than World Cups. I can't be bothered with T20 series when we play internationals after the players themselves had said, hey, look, you lose one, who cares? We've got another one tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's how I feel
that's a
about
good point. Make it a franchise competition, and then every 4 years, 3 years, doesn't need to be every 2 years the way it is, that you have your countries come together, the best players form a team.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so glass half full for that.
Glass half full.
For rugby sevens, rugby 15s, they used to have rugby 9s, rugby sevens.
Empty.
Empty? See, I've
Glass
gone right
half
off.
empty.
I've gone right off rugby sevens. I love it at the Olympics because we win medals. I love it at the Commonwealth Games because we win
It
medals.
feels a bit misplaced at the Olympics though, doesn't it?
Well, a lot of sports do these days. But in terms of that World Series 7 circuit, they've killed it. Just to me, it's just a nothing sport now. No, I'm not disrespecting the players or anyone that's involved in it.
It was never huge though, but it was big here because we had an event, and that event was a party, and everyone circled it on their calendar. And it was always, wasn't it, often on a holiday weekend as well?
Mate, it was at the beginning of February. It was always beautiful weather in Wellington. It was those 4 days of summer that we have in Wellington.
Yep.
Hong Kong was the same. I've been to the Hong Kong sevens. It was just a riot. It was brilliant. And those two events don't...
So at least in New Zealand, it was, but people did love it because of the sport. I mean, it was fun. It was fast paced. It was a mini World Cup essentially, but people loved it for the party and the dressing up and
there's
the
nothing wrong with that.
shenanigans.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It just happened to be in the one town in New Zealand that you can't do that. You can't have fun.
No, you can't have fun. And the weirdest one, when I was working at Television New Zealand, interesting life anecdote, came down the back stairs and Superman was having sex with a zebra. That's my enduring memory from the Wellington Sevens. And they didn't stop.
Glass half full.
Rugby League, 13 on the field, brilliant sport. NRL, one of the best comps in the world. Rugby League 9s or 10s, glass half full.
Glass half empty.
Same.
Without a doubt.
No.
The fact that it barely lasted, but they still have some sort of 9s comp now, don't they? Or like a veterans competition.
Yeah,
they had
veterans,
recently, I think. The first edition of it was kind of cool. It was at Eden Park. It was something for Auckland, but no. The fact that it didn't last told you people actually weren't really that keen on it.
Well, the big problem that they always have the NRL is you don't want your players getting injured playing it. It's a pre-season tournament, so... Yeah, but
it's pointless.
I love rugby league. I love rugby league.
Now, imagine if they did an international one of 9s at the end of the year.
Well, again, just the fixture list is overcrowded. I'd rather they
No,
played
but you swap it because I mean the
I'd rather
test.
they played international tests.
No, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, how
I'm
about
thinking,
that?
but I'm thinking of something exciting for the fan. I'm not
Well, see,
thinking
this
of
is it. This is
on-field
why
stuff.
all
I'm
these
thinking of
sports
commercial
want to
stuff.
shorten.
Glass half full.
Netball, 7 on a court.
Glass half empty.
The
No.
Fast Five.
No.
Again, I just don't get it. I don't know. I like watching international high-class netball, but it just leaves it.
You know what the worst part is about it, and I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, but the most infuriating element of Fast Five is the dances they do. Even the referees do their own dance and routine.
Yeah.
This weird choreographed.
I mean, the players,
thing.
that's fine. The refs.
Well, no, even then, because often it's just a little shoulder shake, or they're shuffling along and they pull some glasses off. It's nothing like it just feels a little bit cringe.
Look, if you're there, you enjoy it. We're taking nothing away from you, but I like netball played at the highest level. I think.
Well, I like the Silver Ferns and the Constellation Cup, you
Yeah,
know. I
glass
like the
half
idea of a
empty on
World
that.
Cup and when we take on England. That's the
Glass
stuff I
half
like.
full.
Glass half full, Sail GP, because the America's Cup is only 4 years, and so this, I reckon, is brilliant. I'm glass half full on
Yeah.
the Sail GP.
I like it as well, for that reason. Everyone, particularly in this country, is the biggest sailing expert every 3 or 4
Everyone's
years.
an armchair admiral every 4 years.
And outside of those America's Cup regattas, no one watches any
Well,
sailing.
there's no, and look, you get it at
Unless
the
it's the
Olympics.
Olympics, yeah. Well, yeah if, at
And
the
I'll
Olympics,
watch
you
a
know.
Kiwi at the Olympics, but the Sail GP's taken it to another level, I think.
Yeah.
And look, the packed out spectators like here in
Particularly
Auckland.
when you have a great event in Auckland.
Yeah. Yeah, glass
Was
half
that a
full
good
on
event? I wasn't in the country. Was that a good event?
Superb.
Yeah.
The waterfront was just jammed, bars, restaurants going off.
Great.
Oh, so
And it wasn't too expensive, was it?
I didn't.
I heard
actually,
someone say it was
I
like
watched it on the
$250
telly.
or something.
I watched it. I didn't go in the stands. I watched it on the telly because it's a TV sport to me. Look, one of my kids was out on a boat and he said, "Dad, we were all in the cabin watching it on the telly because you can't."
Well, yeah, because when you're there,
Glass
whether you're on the
half
water
full.
on a yacht or you're on the
Two to go.
waterfront, yeah.
Supercars. Now you've got the endurance races. Okay, let's park those to one side. So you've got the 70 lappers and the 20-something lappers. I don't like the 20-something lappers. I love the 70 lappers. I love the big endurance events for supercars.
Yeah, Formula One have done something similar with their sprint weekends, which I don't like at all. I like the old school one race, a long Grand Prix on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm the same with Super. Now, when I first got into Supercars back when it was called V8 Supercars and it was Holden versus Ford, I think they had a 3-race weekend. You'd have one practice, unless it was an endurance race or whatever. You'd have one practice, you'd have your qualifying, you might have a top 10 shootout, and then you'd have 3 races. One on the Saturday afternoon, 2 on the Sunday. And they were all the same length, I'm pretty sure. And then they sort of shortened the weekends. But they were always long races. They weren't these quick 20-lap sprint races.
20 look, the whole thing about the 70 lapper is it brings the pit stops in.
Well, it's about strategy.
Yeah, that's it. It brings tire
It's not about who
degradation.
can get the fastest car for 10, 15
That's it,
laps,
yeah.
because you can probably break some rules doing that. It's about strategy. Fuel load, tyre
Yeah.
degradation,
Yeah.
your
How
favourite
good
term in
is your
sports.
How good is your pit crew?
Yeah.
You know, and
How
the
fast are they?
microseconds. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I don't dislike it because it's still great.
Supercars.
Yeah, it's supercar. I love motorsport. It's still great to watch, but I do prefer the longer ones.
Final one.
Glass half full.
TGL Golf.
I'm glass half full. I love
Okay.
it.
Look,
I love it.
You love it. Okay, so as far as golf goes, the only golf that I think most of us watch is the majors.
Now, it's not-
And now, don't you dare live golf the majors. Don't you ever live golf the majors. The majors are 4 days, 4 rounds of golf.
No, that won't happen. That
Do
won't happen.
not fix something that ain't broke. TGL Golf, I watched the other day, Tiger versus Rory, the virtual screen, 1,500 people getting told to shout, Rory, Rory. I just, stop it.
It looks a bit strange being
Just
indoors.
stop it, mate.
Now,
If I want to play PlayStation Golf, I'll play PlayStation Golf. I want to see
is
these
the
guys play.
format totally different from a regular golf tournament? In terms of
Yes, it's a computer
No,
screen.
no.
There's no wind and
No,
rain.
I'm talking about the format of competition. I'm not talking about the setting.
Oh, it's all shortened.
Is it
It's got
shortened
to
though?
take place in an hour. They want to result in an hour.
Yeah, okay. I can see why
Okay,
people
whereas
don't like
golf
that, but,
takes place over 4 days.
See, this is my thinking with, now, I'm obviously with netball fast 5 and 7s, I don't like those, but for the most part in sport, as long as you keep the original form of it intact and you just add, you don't replace. So if we've got our majors, if we've got our PGA Tour, we've got our regular sort of calendar season, your 4 days of golf, you cut after 2 days, all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with stuff like this. And it's kind of cool because you're all inside like this arena, you're shouting, you're getting into it, there's a bit more of an atmosphere. It's not a party, but kind of close to it. Tiger and Rory are fist pumping and enjoying it and all this stuff. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. You're so old and grumpy, that's your problem. You're 60. You're showing it as well. Have some fun.
Nothing wrong with that either. Blah, 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 blah. Miles Davis joins us every Wednesday as he does. Me old China. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got Premier League to talk about, Super Bowl predictions. Peter Layla getting nailed by SEN for posting pro-Palestinian comments on his social media. Rubiales, Sam Kerr. Yeah, cover that and much more. But kick it off with the Premier League. Your mob playing Chelsea yesterday. I thought you were a bit robbed, actually.
Yes, I wasn't expecting too much from the game because we're down to our bare bones. I think we had 2 keepers and 3 children from the kindergarten on the bench. But we played really well. We only had 30-odd% possession, but you expect that against a side like Chelsea away from home. But we created, I think we had more shots, nearly twice as many shots on target as they did. We created pressure, scored a really good finish from Bowen from one of their mistakes, but that was brought about by pressure as well. And I think Graham Potter so far in the few games he's been in charge has shown a real change in attitude and application towards the game, a far more positive one than we had under both David Moyes and our dear mate Mr. Lopetegui. But their winning goal was a scungy own goal. The goal, their equalising goal, really could well be disallowed for a foul on Bowen. Them's the breaks. I'll take that one and just be satisfied with the performance, and hopefully we can build from there.
Well, Man United, of course, Fortress Old Trafford. We've lost 7, I think, in the league at home this year. And what a great transfer window it was for United.
Well, it is. You got rid of Rashford.
Mate, where was the day that... I've been a United fan for 50 years. We buy players from Aston Villa. We don't sell our best player to Aston Villa.
I think you've only loaned him. I don't know if he's been sold, has he?
He ain't coming back, mate. He's not coming back.
Well, exactly. He'll probably end up in Saudi Arabia with the rest of the mob. It's an interesting one, actually. But if you look at your noisy neighbours, they've made some massive signs.
Where's their money come from, Miles? Aren't they facing financial fair play, regulation, discipline?
They're like the Donald Trump of football. They're above the law. They can do what they want and seemingly get away with it. So, yeah, disappointing. But at least they're still getting turned over. Was enjoyable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Good to see.
Ask give them a spanking.
It was, actually. And look, I still don't think Arsenal are the real deal. I don't think they're going to catch Liverpool, but, I was very impressed with that. They played bloody well and they spanked them with 4 goals in the second half. Before we get on to Super Bowl and everything else, let's discuss some of the thornier issues in sport at the moment. Peter Layla, as I said. This one, I've read all the comments from Craig Hutchinson and everything else. It sounds to me that the boss of CEN got put under the squeezer, whether that's by sponsors, whether that's by a board, whether that's by whoever it is. Is it okay for a person who is fronting sport to put their own political views out there on social media? Obviously, in this case, no, because he put pro-Palestinian comments out while he was calling Sri Lanka Australia in Sri Lanka, and he's lost his job as a result.
Would he have been given the boot had he put pro-Israeli comments on there? No. He's called a genocide. One of the justifications was the fact that it's made Jewish people in Australia feel unsafe. Well, if you put pro-Israeli stuff and anti-Palestinian stuff, doesn't that make the Palestinians feel unsafe? And I'm sure
but this is never an apples with apples argument, is it? It's never been that, has it? So
I know, but it's ridiculous.
You're
ridiculous. Not attacking Jews. You're attacking Netanyahu, who is, frankly, he's a war criminal. And why shouldn't you have some empathy with those thousands there? What happened initially was disgraceful. But there's a historical thing that goes back a hell of a long way. You've been on your land for 2,000 years, and then suddenly, I don't know, mate, you move out that little bit there and maybe a little bit there. They're making attacks on the West Bank. There's thousands of people dying the whole time. I can't see why you shouldn't be able to opine on it. But the world is the same. The world is the same. People are just getting squeezed the whole time. If you say anything anti-Israeli, you get shouted down. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in.
Rubiales on trial for sexual assault and coercion, and Sam Kerr for racially insulting a police officer. She should be on trial, as I said at the start of the show, for just being a drunken prat and being obnoxious. So, as I said at the very beginning, I think that both these cases are clear-cut, and I think guilty is the verdict. It's the punishments that, to me, are going to be more interesting in terms of what is actually appropriate. Rubiales was way out of order, but sexual assault just seems kind of like hitting the ant with a hammer. Is that too big a charge to be facing for actually what he did?
like I say, it's just the world that we're living in. I mean, you've done worse than that to me, mate. You know, I'll give you a little slap back, push you through the tent of the Heineken.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, right. It was a while ago.
Yeah, sexual assault. That wasn't sexual assault. You know, that really demeans proper sexual assault out there. It was well out of order. I'm not too worried if he loses his job, but for her to suddenly, you know, I can't. It's hard to put it into words. You don't want to demean her, and it was obviously
and she obviously feels terrible about it.
Embarrassing.
Yes.
He was well out of order.
Way out of order.
To go to court about it, to call it sexual assault. Imagine if that had been a man and a woman had gone up and kissed him after he'd won a thing. Nothing would have happened.
No, of course not.
Absolutely.
But again, it's
nothing.
not an apples with apples, is it? So.
Yeah, and I appreciate that there's still a real patriarchy in places like Spain with the old Latin machiness, machismo kicking in. But they should have just either give him the boot or make him give a grovelling, abject apology. He didn't help himself, to be perfectly honest, afterwards by trying to coerce her into covering his backside.
That's right.
And doing it. The Sam Kerr one, I mean, here we go, the victim again, and she's happy to play the race cards. You know, it was only happening because of my ethnicity. I mean, she was paralytic with a girlfriend in the back of it. She chummed her all over the cab. Then she smashes the window. She abuses the old Bill. I still don't think it should go to court. Surely. I mean, when I got nicked at the Basin, you know, after I knocked that geezer down who was being too leery with his three mates, the old Bill slammed me in there. They kept myself for a few hours. I had to go and see Sergeant Paddy down at Wellington Central, and then they gave me diversion. Why not give her a big fine, diversion, move it on?
Yeah, that's the thing. I just think both of these in court is, you know, you just kind of think, again, it's just way over the top in terms of, you know, she just needed to apologise, just actually pull her head in and say, look, I'm sorry, I actually was drunk, I was a complete dickhead, and that would have been it. But for them to be playing out in court.
Marty, I've got to say, mate, that if you're a policeman in London and you'll get upset by someone calling you stupid and white, you should probably get another job. Because that's probably the best day you're ever going to have.
Yeah, that's right. And look, and that has been brought up as well. I mean, how offended was he by it? How distressed was he actually by it? Six Nations. I watched your mob against England. You know, obviously the score got closer at the end because of the tries, but Justin Marshall said it on Monday as well. There's lots of positives to take out from England. Ireland are a better team, but I didn't think that, you know, you were too far away. You were before the tries in terms of the scoreboard, but for a good 60 minutes, you're in that game, mate.
Yeah, I know. That's what I told you, didn't I? Before you'd even watched it, I gave you that. And as usual, you've gone and nicked what I've said and put it out as your own opinion. But
it's always who says it first, mate. Always who says it first.
Exactly. You've got the microphone. I was reasonably pleased for the first hour, but England have shown this in recent times that they can't kick on and put sides away when they've had the opportunities. The Irish were getting stronger and stronger. They got that home crowd behind them, and that always gives them a boost. Like you say, those late tries made it less embarrassing, but I think there's still issues there, and I don't know whether Borthwick's the man to solve it. I reckon, usually old rugby saying, I reckon we got the cow there, but we haven't got the right cowboy steering them.
Tell you what, I love your first five. I'd love to have him, mate.
How long I've been telling you about him?
I know. I've been waiting though. I've just been waiting to see whether he can get that consistency. I mean, the yellow card was dumb, but look, when that guy's on the field, he is a game changer.
Yeah, he's the sort of player you want to watch playing. Remember, you know, like the Stephen Porcari's and the Frano Boticas of this world, and even Stuart Barnes, who not quite as flash as him, but still a more attack-minded player. But Smith, in that sort of aggressive attacking role, would be as good as I've seen in recent years.
Super Bowl then, who wins? Who do you want to see win out of the Eagles and the Chiefs?
Well, I think we both want to see the Eagles win, don't we?
Yeah, divisional rival though, mate. I don't like them either, but you know.
No, I know, yeah, but you've got to put that aside. I mean, Arsenal are a big rival, London rival, West Ham, but I still rather see them win than Liverpool.
Yeah, good
point. I just... You've got to back the experience, I suppose. You know, they're going for a three-peat now, the Chiefs. Mahomes is a freak, but Josh Allen's had a fantastic season. And I just get a feeling that the underdog, you know, not they're a massive underdog, but the underdog's going to do the business.
Yeah.
And another reason why everyone would love to see it, we want to see Taylor Swift crying. and then Travis Kelce give her the Archer.
Oh,
You
no,
know,
look,
just give
don't
it-
you want to
you know,
see the marriage
less
proposal? He's going to be down on... If they win a three-peat, he's going to ask her to marry him. You know that's going to happen, don't you?
Well, why is it, though? Why is it there's such a... I mean, and she's a major figure, I understand that. But show once in the crowd and then get on with the game for the rest of the season. Do you remember Ronaldo at the 98 World Cup, you know, when this blonde girl... They kept going back to the blonde girl in the crowd.
For a
do
reason.
that, I suppose. The game's boring. And I suppose in the NFL, although you and I love the game, there are major periods of sort of nothing really happening. So I suppose that sort of boosts it up. But I want the Eagles to win and Mr. Kelsey to get the old Spanish Archer elbow out.
And you see what we've talked about the NFL. It was Jalen Hurts as well as you said Josh Allen. Josh Allen's had a great season, but Hurts.
I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
Hurts,
this is the making of him, and of course losing that Super Bowl a couple of years back. But also not a word about the halftime show. Because you know what I do during that? I go and make food. I don't care, mate. I don't care who's on stage, mate. I'm there to watch the game.
Did you see the one a few years ago with the rappers on there?
Yeah,
and although they were so tired and ancient, I'd have rather seen an 80-year-old Mick Jagger with an 80-year-old Rod Stewart up there strutting their stuff. And now apparently all the focus is on, was it Kendrick Lamar that's doing it?
Don't know, mate.
I wonder what he's going to say against Drake. Who gives a monkey?
Who gives
Get on with the game. Take your $8 million for 30 seconds of ads and get on with the bleeding game.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
That's our podcast and show for today. Again, if you're liking what you're listening and what you're seeing, then a small favour, if you will. Can you please hit like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend about it. We are a fledgling podcast and show, the DSPN, and we need you. And if you are participating, well, just click that subscribe button. That would help enormously. Thank you so much if you already have. Again, tell a friend if you like. We're doing this every single day, putting out a show every afternoon. The DSPN.
This is the DSPN.